Hotel workers. What is your craziest story? I used to work at a hotel. I post on these guests often and I always intend on doing so. 3 guests come to mind. 1. Guests wiped in the towels, smeared it on the walls, and laughed at housekeeping when they came in for service. 2. Young lady, who was certainly no lady, stuck her used tampon on the bathroom wall. The blood acted as a glue and cemented itself there. It had to be pried off. 3. Guests left 3-week-old expired milk in the fridge. But they were only in-house for 3 days, so that means it was already 2.5 weeks expired when they checked in. Who lugs around rotten milk? I have others. I'll be happy to share. AMA. One of my first jobs I was a houseman. Told to report to management with another houseman. They assigned us to clean a room where apparently some prick beat the shit out of his wife and kid. Blood spatter everywhere. Ceiling. Paintings. Carpet. Even in the bathroom. Took the whole day to clean. It apparently happened that night or the night before and we had to clean it after the cops left. That shit was so infuriating and saddening. I was working in a pretty fancy hotel. International guests. One morning I was walking down a hallway with a room attendant's trolley and a guest comes to me trying to explain something, but we didn't speak the same language, making it awkward. So eventually he gestures me to come to his room. So we go and I follow him to the bathroom. I notice the smell immediately while he points at his toilet, and when I look there is just this massive turd there. He's still kinda talking to me in his language, but I don't understand his point. And finally he presses the button to flush. The toilet flushes. His turd leaves our company and he looks at me with such a weird proud expression. I just smiled, put 2 thumbs up and left. Day feel different from everyone else? I mean, what sort of test did you do for autism that came back negative? Yeah. Except I never had friends because I could never relate to anyone my age. Yeah. I feel the same way sometimes. It's tough when you feel like you don't fit in with others. Even if you don't necessarily think you're better than them. I think it's important to find people who accept you for who you are and embrace your differences. You're not alone. I sustained head trauma at birth and my mama was given a medication to prevent my premature birth that was recalled 2 years after. I've always been a very odd person, to put it lightly. The way I interact with the world has been commented on by my peers repeatedly. I struggle to read a room and cope with stress by either shutting down completely, making a scene, or laughing. At my worst I was lolcow material. Trying to figure out why has been a nightmare. It's hard to tell if it's from past brain damage, years of being on psychiatric meds, if I'm autistic, or all 3. How did you deal with thinning and or receding hair? Just gonna say, because we all panicked when that happened, it's totally normal for your hairline to recede a little in your mid-20s. It doesn't mean balding for sure, it's called mature hairline or something. Basically it will move a bit between late teens, late 20s, but may stay at that spot for the rest of your life after. Now obviously monitor it, and if it's serious recession then do something about it, but if you've just noticed your temples are a little higher than they used to be but don't move any further over like a year, yeah, that's just what your hairline is now. Mine started thinning in my early 20s. By 26, 27 growing it longer on the top wasn't fooling anyone. I've shaved with a razor daily since then. 40 now. I don't ever want to need to get my hair cut or worry about combing it again. Love it. The biggest con is you'll get burned every spring when you forget to go outside for 2 hours on the first sunny day without a hat. And beanie hats in the winter slip off my head unless I leave a little stubble. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I started growing a huge bald patch. It stopped getting larger when I got rid of a huge source of stress in my life. Now since I can only grow a monk cut, I decide to shave everything but the top front. And tie it back. Think a bit wider than Scott from Lock ;key. Graphic novel https://static. Wikia. Na cookie. net/locky/images/5/52/Scott. png/revision/latest. CB equals 201306161181516. And then long enough to go down to the bottom of my neck when flipped back over my head. Have some fun with what you have left, you will eventually feel the need to shave it all off. When do you feel like you get talked over the most by those without experience? In spaces specifically for people with your experience? I've been working in a hands-on technical role for many years now. I feel well suited to being where I am and have no interest in taking on the extra headaches of management. But oh boy. When a new manager comes in from outside the company, it doesn't matter if it's a man or woman, you'd think they'd be interested in asking me questions. But they are way more interested in establishing dominance through monologuing. Sometimes in their monologue they will say, I'd be really interested to know the answer to X thing, and I have the answer. But they somehow keep going and going and going with non-stop stream of consciousness buzzwords. And I'd try for a while to catch their attention, including verbally, but it's impossible. I'm a teacher, and whenever I meet new people, either friends of friends or my spouse's colleagues, as soon as I mention my job I'm talked over. How lucky I am to have summers off. How easy it must be. Paid 12 months for 10 months work, etc. It's usually men of a certain type. The cool guy who's really a douche and loves proving himself right. Regardless of the positives and negatives of my job. It's really frustrating to be told that someone I've just met could walk into a classroom and teach my classes with no issues. If I rebut with something like how challenging class sizes can be with a group of diverse needs, They quickly come up with a snarky comment about summer's off and that makes it worth it. How do you identify what you and your mental health needs? Sometimes I need to intentionally take a break and ask myself how I'm feeling. It's so easy to go on autopilot and just keep doing the next thing and sometimes I need to take a break and say, how am I feeling? Am I tired? What do I want right now? Independent of what needs to be done ? And quote. I know the signs when I get anxious or when I need meds or when I just need a break from something. For the last one, I will say that some people just don't get it and I don't complain until I am about to give up on something. Oh, just keep trying, you'll get it. And quote. I have learned when to push myself and when to back off because it'll just spiral more out of control. I say no to a lot of stuff and watch commitments. And I know what will trigger mental health, so I stay on top of those factors so they don't unnecessarily cause things. I treat myself like I would treat any toddler. Excessive praise. Investigative questions. Do you need the bathroom? Are you cranky? Are you thirsty? Are you tired? And if I'm craving something, I usually just get it for myself. I'm very frugal, but if I want something special, it's probably because I deserve it and I'm craving it in response to stress. In addition to those investigative questions, there's no shame attached to any of my responses ever. I treat myself with kindness, and that's how I find out what I need without shamefully burying it. I have come to know myself very well, both body and mind. So certain pains in my body and certain loops of thoughts are signs that something is wrong. When I realize that something is wrong, I will identify the problem and then I have different strategies to get better. I should probably mention that I have PTSD, and one of the reasons I am able to maintain a full life, with children, husband and work, is because of my ability to identify the problems and live/deal with them.